Hello viewers! Today I'm going to show you my attempt to make red yeast rice wine. I'm going to be using a makgeolli recipe, Korean recipe, but I'm going to be using the Chinese red rice yeast and yeast balls substituted for nuruk. So no nuruk, just the Chinese yeast. So this is going to be a single stage fermentation. I tried looking up recipes for Chinese rice wine. They're a little bit different than the makgeolli recipes that I follow. And I have confidence in the water content, proportions that I use for makgeolli. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow my makgeolli recipe, except that I'm using this red rice yeast. This is what it looks like. Yeast grows on the rice. It's that very intense color. It's used for coloring. The recipes I read use both red yeast rice and yeast balls. I'm actually using a lot here because I want to be sure I get fermentation. So I'm using probably an excessive amount of yeast for my 1 kilogram of rice. I have 200 grams of the red yeast rice and 4 of those yeast balls, and I really smashed them with the mallet. I want to get a powder, but I don't want to heat things up, so I didn't want to put it in a blender. So I'm going to add the powder to my cooled off steamed rice. And I'm going to add water. That's something that's different than the recipes I read for Chinese rice wine. Those recipes are often seem very dry to me. I don't know if that's because the water's, I don't know if that's because the rice is cooked differently, has different water content, but with this steamed godubab, I know I need to add a fair amount of water. So I'm doing it this way. This is not anything official or traditional. I'm combining these recipes myself, so fault is my own if it doesn't work out. And I'm going to be stirring it a lot at the beginning. So I decided to stir it for 4 days. There's something special. I'm smelling acetone. So that's a sign of the wrong kind of yeast getting into this brew. Unless it was in those yeast balls or something. I don't really know. But smelling acetone is the wrong kind of yeast. I was very disappointed at this point, but I decided to stick with it and keep stirring. That's the only solution you can have. If you stir it enough, maybe the good yeast will reassert itself. You tell there's a lot of bubbling in there. It is fermenting. And actually, at the beginning, it really puffed up a lot, so you have to be careful. I could not have used any more rice; it would have overflowed the container. And this is thicker than normal. When I was stirring it, it was thicker than makgeolli. I knew I needed to give it a lot more time. I decided to give it 30 days. And even near the end, it's bubbling away. There's a layer of liquid at the top, which I guess is good. It's smelling, it's no longer smelling like acetone. But actually, for most of the fermentation period, it was smelling like acetone. But by the end, it didn't smell like makgeolli, but it did smell like wine. It did smell like alcohol. So after 30 days, I'm going to bottle this. The grains of rice are completely broken down. Let's see how this filters. It is quite thick. And I had to be quite patient to push it through this strainer. Okay, and it's going to stain the strainer. This coloring, this red yeast rice is used to color food. It's quite intense. It's going to stain this strainer permanently. So I'm expending some effort trying to get this out. I know there's still a lot of liquid in this rice. I just have to get it through the strainer. Yeah, so I can feel all the liquid in there. I really have to squeeze. Okay, so that was fun. My hands are tired. So the leftovers are nice and smooth, reasonably dry. I squeezed as much as I could. That's what they look like. Okay, so I'll put this in bottles. The texture is not the same as makgeolli. It starts sharp and peppery. It was fruity and yeasty, and it even had some milky aftertaste. The sediment didn't settle the same as makgeolli, not exactly the same. There is sediment at the bottom, but it did take longer to settle than my usual makgeolli recipe. Later on, the taste evolved, and it became more tart and winey and very yeasty. And it ended up with a vegetable flavor and aftertaste. And one taster told me it tasted like Vegemite. And that was not a compliment, but it is very yeasty. Okay, so that was fun. I made my own recipe by combining Chinese-style yeast with the Korean-style recipe. I had a problem with acetone at the beginning of the brew, but in the end, I ended up with a unique flavored brew. If I made it again, I would use less yeast. I hope you enjoyed this experiment. Please stay tuned for next week's makgeolli video. If you like this video, please click that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.